Imagine getting your front door kicked in by police, your home being searched, and then you being arrested for conspiracy to murder. And the only evidence against you? You were sent a few text messages. Conspiracy. Defined as a secret plan by a group, known also as plotting to do something unlawful or harmful. This is the story of how 10 teenagers were sentenced to a combined total of 131 years in prison over text messages. In November 2020, a group of teenage friends were chilling in a supermarket car park when one of them received a panic call. The caller told them about how one of their friends, 16-year-old John Soyoye, had just been stabbed. John Soyoye was an up-and-coming drill artist from Manchester, England, and was known in the drill scene as MD.
MD, listen, check.
John had suffered 15 blows to the body when he was attacked by a group of 13 boys who kicked, punched and struck him with machetes and various other weapons, where he died on the scene. The fight had started allegedly over a stolen jacket and happened outside of a funeral parlour. John Soyoye, alongside Harry Oni, Brooklyn Jitoba, Martin Jr. Thomas and Simon Thorne, were involved in a fight with the 13 youths, but outnumbered and overpowered, they ran off. The 13 youths gave chase, but John was slowed down due to the injuries he sustained in the attack. The group caught up with him and attacked him, ending his life. He was even stabbed in the perineum, which is the area between the genitals and the anus. When the teens that had been chilling in the supermarket car park were all informed by the caller of their friend's violent murder, they were all devastated, upset and angry. They had all grown up together and had known each other from school and church. John Soyoye was like a brother to them, and they felt the loss. One of the youths in the supermarket car park that day was 17-year-old Ademola Adedeji, affectionately known as Adi to his friends. Ade had been hailed as an inspirational youth leader who had written a book profiling inspirational young black people from Moston, North Manchester, where he was from. The book was entitled Something to Say, and it was because of this book, as well as his community work, that Ade was invited to Parliament as part of a charitable endeavour to deliver a speech to MPs in 2019 when he was just 16 years old. Ade had been a head boy at his school, and he played youth rugby for Salford Red Devils, and he was captain of the team. His team coach said of Ade, "He was the type of star pupil we look for to go into the big leagues and hopefully onto the England squad." Ade also worked as a carer for people with dementia and had just applied to study law at Birmingham University, a notoriously hard university to get into. Ade will go on to receive an unconditional offer from the university, but not before a set of unfortunate events. 3 days after John Soyoye's murder, Ade receives a text message from Harry Oni. The text was an ad to a group chat which was called MD's World, with a crying face emoji on the end. The group chat was on an app called Telegram, and the chat had been set up by Jeffrey Ojo. Also in the group chat were Raymond Savi, Omalade Okoya, and Azim Okonola. In the chat, Harry Oni had wrote to the group,
"Stay away from John's memorial till we touch something."
Ademola responded saying,
"Yo, one of them man live on Limeside Street in Oldham."
When asked how he knew, Ade responded,
I have my links.
Ade then texted a postcode along with a screenshot of a map before saying,
Drop there.
In total, 345 messages were sent in the chat that day, and out of the 345 messages, Ade had only sent 11 of them and was in the chat for 14 minutes in total. The group chat had died down within a few days and was never used again. The teens had used the group chat to vent their grief and anger about the loss of their friend. But nobody was hurt and nobody was harmed because of it. And out of the 11 texts that Ade sent in the group chat, those 4 lines would come back to haunt him. 3 months after the group chat, in February 2021, Ade was awoken to a police dawn raid on his home, where they searched everywhere, including his mum's underwear drawer. Ade was then taken to the station for questioning and asked to surrender his phone. The reason for this was because following the murder of John Soyoye, 3 of the men that were in the group chat decided to get revenge for John's death. Harry Oni chased 2 students outside his college, but no one was hurt. Then 6 weeks after John's murder, he was captured on CCTV chasing a boy from Rochdale with a machete along with Gideon Lamonda and an unnamed other person, striking him twice with it and slicing the boy's back. The attack stopped when the boy ran into a nearby shop to escape the attack. In a third incident, Harry Oni, Gideon Kalumda and Martin Thomas chased a man in Rochdale and hacked him with a machete. The man was then run over in a stolen SUV driven by Gideon Kalumda. The incident was stopped by an off-duty PCSO who had been driving through the area. The victim survived but refused to cooperate with the police. Police investigations identified Harry Oni as the man in the CCTV with the machete, and he was arrested along with Gideon Kalumda, who had also taken part in the revenge attacks, as well as Jeffrey Ojo. During Harry's arrest, his phone was seized and a Telegram group chat was discovered. This was then sent to the Organised Crime Unit for investigations. It was discovered that nobody in the Telegram group chat was known to police, so the police concluded that they had stumbled upon a new gang, one with a quote, significant level of criminality and the structure and competence to carry out attacks, end quote. The police described this new so-called gang they discovered in a document saying that they were attacking young black boys at random. Going off of this information, everybody that had been a part of the Telegram group chat were all arrested. Harry Oni, Jeffrey Ojo, and Gideon Kalumda were charged with conspiracy to murder and violent disorder for the retaliation machete attacks. Although none of the victims were fatally injured and no victim cooperated with the police. But the boys who were not at the scene of any of the attacks nor took part in any retaliation or missions to locate anyone were arrested and charged with joint enterprise conspiracy to commit murder because they had been in the Telegram group chat. 19-year-old Azim Okonola was in the final stages of finishing his degree in computer science and artificial intelligence with first-class honours, completing the course in 2 years instead of the usual 3. But because he had been in the Telegram group chat, he was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, although he did not involve himself in any form of violence against any victim, was not there when the victims were attacked, and did not go on any scoping missions to try and find those who had murdered John. 19-year-old Raymond Savvy, who was best friends with Ade and said to be from the most loving family you could hope for, had achieved distinctions in his studies and had just been accepted into Salford University to study accounting. He was also charged with conspiracy to commit murder, although he had no participation in any violence against any victim, was not there when the victims were attacked, and also did not go on any scoping missions to try and find those who had murdered John. But because he had been in the Telegram group chat under the joint enterprise, he had also been charged. Omalade Okoya, aged 19, a talented American footballer with huge potential, was studying public services at college and was hoping to one day work for the police, the ambulance or the fire service. Omalade had not participated in any violence towards any victims, nor was he there when the victims were attacked, and he did not go on any scoping missions to try and find those responsible for John's murder. But again, because he had been in the Telegram group chat under the joint enterprise, he was also charged with conspiracy to commit murder. During the trial at Preston Crown Court, the prosecution painted all 10 teens as being in a criminal gang called M40, named after their postcode, and that John Soyoye, who had been murdered, was their leader. But the teens say that M40 was not a gang, but a music collective of friends from school or church who made drill music together. The family of the defendants say that once the gang narrative was used to describe them in court, their fate was sealed, as the prosecution tried to paint the friends as a gang to draw all of them into the offence. The defence claimed that the teens were in a rival gang, which was played out through social media. The jury was then shown YouTube videos of some of the teens rapping as proof and evidence that they were all in the same gang, and they were also shown examples of drill music with violent lyrics as evidence of gang affiliation and violent intent. An analysis was also brought into the court to discuss the meaning of certain lyrics, although it's been said that the prosecution's so-called analyst was simply a police officer and not an expert. Ethne Quinn, Professor of Cultural Studies at the University of Manchester, who is used as an independent expert in legal cases, says that drill music use against defendants is used very, very frequently at trials, especially when large groups of men are on trial together. Ethne said that the music is often used as gang evidence, often in the space of hard evidence. She said it makes the jury frightened and gives them a sense of a public safety issue. The lyrics are often treated as if they're an autobiography, a documentary, or a diary entry, whilst giving a sense of bad character with a propensity to violence. Prosecuting Rap Project, an organisation which campaigns for changes to the use of music, especially rap lyrics and music videos as evidence in court, states that rap music has long been subjected to heavy policing and censorship. Form 696 was the Metropolitan Police's way of shutting down grime gigs in the 90s and the noughties, and more recently, drill artists have been slapped with injunctions banning them from performing or making drill music. Drill music is being over-policed. Over 35 lawyers, barristers and solicitors were on the case. All but 2 of the jurors were white. During the trial, the prosecution used a photo of a so-called rival gang of the teens from Rochdale as evidence of a gang rivalry going on between the teens and others. But it turns out that the photo of the so-called Rochdale rivals was actually a photo of a London-based music group. The defendants that were caught on CCTV carrying out the violent attacks, Harry Oni, Jeffrey Ojo, and Gideon Kolumda, were sentenced to 21 years in prison, whilst Brooklyn Jitoba was sentenced to 20 years all for conspiracy to commit murder and violent disorder. Although no murder was committed, they all received a sentence similar to if they had committed a murder. Gideon Kalunda was not in any form of the Telegram group chats, but he was in Snapchat group chats where he discussed how to get weapons. But because they had all got weapons and went looking for the culprits, they were found guilty. The prosecution said that the guilt and shame that the boys felt for running away and leaving their friend to die is what prompted them to seek revenge. Jeffrey Ojo had just been accepted into university to study engineering, and now, with the rest of those who went on to seek retribution for their friend's murder, his dreams for the future had been thrown away when he got the 21-year sentence. There was also evidence on Harry Oney's phone of him saying,
"You know how I live. Never let a violation slide. But this is more than a violation. They took my little bro."
The other 6 defendants, Ademola Adedeji, Simon Thorne, Martin Thomas, Raymond Savvy, Amalade Okoya, and Azim Okonola, had no weapons, committed no violent acts, nor did they go on any missions to locate anyone. Their only role in all of this was the messages they sent on the Telegram chat and Snapchat. The prosecution said that their role in the conspiracy was to identify who should be attacked and get information about their whereabouts. They were criminalized for sending immature messages in the throes of deep grief, interpreted as proof of violent intent. But these were young 17-year-old boys at the time who had just lost a very close friend and were venting the anger to each other through private messages. Raymond Savvy also wrote 11 of the 345 messages that were sent in the group chat that day. 17 years old at the time, he wrote about suggesting napping one of the cousins of the killer and then taking away his phone so he can't contact others. Napping meaning kidnapping. Raymond's defense in court was that he wasn't being serious and no one was ever kidnapped. Ade also sent a Snapchat message saying,
"Bro, I can't ever lie to you. Boys killed my cousin and that can't slide."
The prosecution used these messages to show proof that Ade and his co-defendants entered into an agreement with others to kill. Amalade Okoya had 3 music videos on his phone of M40 rap videos. One of the songs was the drill rap entitled No Hook, which he had watched once. This was used against him in court to pull them into the conspiracy charges by joint enterprise, saying it was proof they were all a gang working together. In court, the prosecution did not have to show that the person had anything to do with the actual crime. All they had to show was that there was an association which made them just as culpable as the person wielding the weapon. Angered by the harshness and severity of their sentence, 500 plus people came forward offering the teens support such as mentoring, therapy and tutoring, and a protest march and campaign was set up by organisation Kids of Colour, a youth justice organisation. On the 1st of July 2022, all 6 were convicted of conspiracy to commit assault and were all sentenced to 8 years in prison. The public gallery was packed with their family and friends who sobbed as their sentence was passed, with one of the boys' fathers shouting out,
"Racists!"
At which the judge, Mr. Justice Goose, replied,
"If you can't take the verdict quietly, you must leave."
Gary Green, one of the barristers, said that their positive and constructive backgrounds appear to have been ignored. MP Lucy Powell wrote to the Justice Secretary, Dominic Raab, saying that the case was the latest example of black youths being unfairly drawn into a gang narrative because of music they listen to and who they know. But she has since not received a response back. The Friends of the Convicted have stated that the state prioritizes being tough on crime to win elections. 4 months after the conviction in November 2022, Ademola Adedeji, Raymond Savvy, and Omalade Okoya was denied permission to appeal their sentence.